Hi, Ronnie. How are you?
I'm well, and yourself. Thank you, Kate.
Yes, so good. I'm very happy to talk to you today. And actually, you're the one of the most shining bright person in this ashram. And I wanted to ask you about your story. I know you went through many challenges in your life. Could you please share about your personal journey and especially what makes you smile this bright every day?
Wow, that's a wonderful question. As to what makes someone smile so brightly. Because actually, there's probably a lot of things that would most people wouldn't be wanting to smile about. This has been my Indian home. This particular ashram. I've been coming and going from here for the last 3.5 years.
Wow.
And I was doing a spiritual pilgrimage last year when I had a major health issue happen to me. And I had some infection in my heart valves. Unfortunately, I lost the sight of one eye, and I've had to learn to walk again. And I think for many people, that's not something to smile about.
Right. How
But-
did you feel when it happened? What was your feelings?
I mean, I went through a tremendous grieving process, and there is a psychoanalyst who's described the stages of grief, and with the final stage of grief being acceptance. I think one step further for me is not only having acceptance, but having acceptance with a lightness of being, with a sense of humor.
Right.
Because, many of the things that happen now with one eye only, I bump into things or I spill things. And as much as I'm trying to work with that, I mean, I just have to laugh. I have to smile at that. So I think that has helped a huge amount in terms of accepting this situation.
Does like spirituality or something else help you? Was your supporter on the way?
I think a sense of humor or a lightness of being is certainly helpful, but I think that is not something that one just necessarily has. I think that a lightness of being or a sense of humor is something that is cultivated.
Yeah.
And I think it's cultivated often through spiritual practice. I mean, you do have a lot of people who laugh a lot and are very apparently lightness of being, but often there's a cover up.
Yeah.
They're often covering up a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And in my case, that's not the situation at all. The practice of meditation is an important part of my life, but very much more since I've been in India, because my journey has been a lot more intense. My spiritual journey has been intense.
Pilgrimage, and then yes, that's amazing what you did. So you're practicing meditation, right?
So I've practiced various forms of meditation over the years. I have done 7 Vipassana retreats. You have no access to technology, no reading and writing. It's an intense time. In recent years, I've been practicing Kriya. So I am a devotee of Paramahansa Yogananda Ji. I have taken Diksha, initiation. And so that's been my main form of practice.
And you're also staying here in ashram.
I am. I spent 8 weeks in a hospital here in Rishikesh. And when I was discharged, it was the beginning of the year. And because of the difficulty in terms of learning to walk and coping with one eye, but I have been captive in the sense that feel as I'm enclosed in 4 walls. This is a wonderful community, a very supportive community. And the ashram have been wonderful to me.
When was your first time when you came to India, and what does India mean to you?
Yeah, the first time I came to India was actually 25 years ago.
25 years ago.
So it was less about a spiritual journey, but for me, the spiritual aspects of India really started coming home to me. I would say probably 6 or 7 years ago was when I started coming regularly. It's a sacred land.
Yeah.
It has such a huge amount to offer to the Western world, or to the world in general, in terms of spirituality.
Right. What would you recommend to someone who is just starting his or her journey and think about, I want to learn more, I want to be more spiritual, I want to meditate, what would you recommend to do?
I think that someone who's embarking on a spiritual journey for the first time, something like a Vipassana retreat is a bit intense, because that's a real, I mean, it's an intense time, to spend 10 and a half hours a day meditating
Right.
in silence. That's quite an intense time. But I think for people to be able to find some time in their day, twice a day, even if it is just 20 minutes, to be able to sit quietly and just to go within. And, that question, who am I, is a very powerful question to be asking.
Okay, Ronnie. So this meditation, this kriya makes you really happy, I believe. And what else does make you happy?
Some of the obvious benefits of meditation are that one should start feeling a little more peaceful, a little more calm, and you should start feeling a lightness of being. In my old life, I really was carrying the weight of responsibility, trying to run more than one business, trying to manage and juggle all of these financial issues. And those were just, that was just weighing me down. And though not having any of that, and any of those things to be carrying any longer, is just that alone, it leads to a lightness and a much more happiness, for sure.
So if you would go back to that time, what advice would you give to yourself that time when you were struggling with all of these things?
I probably would have tried to become less attached to some of the material things that were surrounding me. I would have tried to create more detachment and tried to create some more quiet time, and would probably have let go of many things. But that's a very difficult thing to do, when you're entrenched in those roles that you playing out. And I think it's about trying to find the truth of who you really are. But this has been the path that I've been meant to walk in this lifetime.
Which brought you here.
Which has brought me here. And I think that realization, or that awareness, has come about again through spiritual practice. Just being quiet more often, and being more aware of just what's happening in the moment by moment basis.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think there was this journey, right, that brought you here. And now, how do you feel like, in general, how do you feel like about the journey when you look back? Do you feel that infection, that it was a lesson for you to learn something or to achieve something?
Absolutely. There's no question that, that what I needed to go through in my past prior to arriving here in India was absolutely a part of my life's journey. And I needed to do some of those things. And I think that, all of us in our lives, as we're on this wheel of birth and death and rebirth and that cycle, have to experience everything that life has to offer. And that's added to happiness. That's added to peace, is where some of those difficult times, to be able to let them go, brings about a peace.
And joy, right? And you also started YouTube channel, which is also inspiring.
It's called Walking with a Sadhu. Some years back, I had done many yatras, walking from Rishikesh to the 4 Char Dhams, to Badrinath, Kedarnath, Gangotri, Yamunotri. Walking.
That's impressive.
Like a sadhu, walking with my bag on my back, my stick, just one change of clothing, very little, not carrying any money, just, asking for food at temples and ashrams. And then I was inspired to walk around the Narmada River. And then a number of people said to me, you should record that journey.
Right.
And record some of your insights and your, and so on. And so that's how that how that channel came about. But it's also just a wonderful travel journey, for many people who don't have maybe the inspiration or the understanding of what does it mean to walk like a monk, like a sadhu.
Especially in India, where you have to just to trust to everything, right? So you went to ask to temples for the food, right? For people, so many people helped you.
Right. No,
It requires a lot of strength and trust to the world, right?
the lessons were huge. I mean, the lessons were transformational, but I wanted to deepen that experience.
Right.
That was really why I wanted to walk again, because walking the Narmada Parikrama really is a journey of inner purification and penance. And I felt that I hadn't quite completed that. And so starting a second time, visiting some of the places that I'd been to before, I realized how profound it was to be able to go back and to deepen my experience at some of those places. But then, uh, the Supreme decided, no, you have another challenge to deal with, because this happened on that journey. But I'm hearing the call of my Narmada. She's saying, come, it's time for you to come back and be on my banks and in my lap once again. So that's been a tremendous motivation for me to get strong, to get walking comfortably, because I want to complete that journey that I started a second time around.
Wow.
Sometime next year. That's
Next year.
Yeah, that's the plan. I was going to start at the end of this year, and then I had some eye surgery, and I realized that I'm no longer in control and in charge of these things. I need to let go, and the time will be right. It will happen when it's meant to happen.
Hopefully next year we can see your update on the channel, Walking with Sadhu, and we will be waiting to see it, right?
Yeah.
It's very inspiring. And for the people who are scary to start pilgrimage, who wants, but I know many people, many of my friends, they want to come to India to explore it more, but they're scary. And for you who were walking around that area and trusting completely, so what advice would you give to these people?
Well, Kate, how that actually transpired was I was in Dharamsala doing some volunteer work, and I walked into a little bookstore, and I saw a book. I just saw on the spine of the book something about Himalayan masters, and I had just finished reading the book by Swami Rama called Living with the Himalayan Masters. And I opened the book in exactly the place where he described how he walked from Rishikesh to Badrinath as a young 19-year-old. And a light came on, and a voice in my head said to me loud and clearly, that's what you need to do. And I thought, wow, that is a crazy idea. I don't speak the language. What about hygiene? What about clean water? Where am I going to stay? What am I going to do? But the call was so profoundly strong that I came back to Rishikesh and I prepared to walk to Badrinath. And then when I was walking to Kedarnath, I had connected with the Satsang Foundation. I got a newsletter from 3M to say that he was doing a satsang in Nagpur. And another light came on. Another voice said very loud and clear to me, you need to walk to that satsang and you need to go and say thank you to 3M for inspiring you to do this. And I was able to meet him personally and say, thank you for inspiring me to do this. I think it's a deep calling.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can come to India and say, I want to walk like a sadhu. I think you need to feel that in your heart and soul. You need to have open hands and you need to be able to accept only what comes to you.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone to do that.
And don't be in fear, right? Because so many people, and me, myself personally, have this calling, but we are scared. We are in fear, right? But I think your story also teaches us, don't be afraid of anything. Just listen to yourself.
When you get that strong intuitive direction.
Yeah.
I had to use the word instruction because maybe it is an instruction, but a direction, then follow your heart. And yeah. And if it seems fearful, I'm of the belief that, face your fears. And if you look at them head on, they're going to just dissipate. You'll be able to push all the way through, I believe that on the other side of fear lies freedom. So, yeah, I think you need to push through your fears.
Ronnie, so one of your most inspiring achievements that you did in your life for us is your Narmada story, right? Not many Indians ever did this, and so many people are dreaming about this. And what was your journey there, right? What was challenging for you? What did you overcome there? What helped you to complete that journey?
It certainly was a life transforming journey. It's a journey of the actual distance uh, down to the last kilometer is 2,622 kilometers.
Wow.
But no one walks exactly along the banks of the Narmada. That's what you're meant to do. But usually, at times, you need to go in a little bit into some of the villages. So most people, I would say, walk in the region of about 3,000 kilometers. For me, I walked 2,800 kilometers in total.
2,800
in
kilometers.
6 months and 11 days. And I was walking entirely on my own. As I said a little bit earlier, the Narmada Parikrama it should be a lonesome journey. Many people now walk in groups, but it should be a journey of inner purification, of penance, of true connection with yourself, finding yourself, and the connection with Ma Narmada, who is a very powerful entity. She's a mother. She's a holy river. I decided to start in a Markantak, which is the source of the river. And then you go all the way to the Arabian Sea. You take a boat across on the outside of the river so that you don't cross Ma Narmada. And then you come up on the other bank, and I finish back in Amarkanda. And but my very, very first night, I got lost in the jungle.
In the jungle?
Yeah, I got completely lost.
Okay.
And I ended up sleeping on the banks next to my Narmada. It's soon after the source, 15 kilometers after the source. So she was narrow. She was only, I don't know, maybe 5 meters wide. And then in places, she's as wide as the Ganga. Later on, she becomes a wide river. So I ended up spending the night there, feeling really quite despondent. My very, very first night, I was not in a temple, in a mandir. I was out under the stars, cold night. But next day, my Narmada sent me a guardian angel. She actually sent me 2 guardian angels. Early morning, a man on the other side of the river, a farmer, couldn't see me, but for some reason he came and stood right opposite me on the other bank, 5 meters away. And when I called to him, he got quite a fright as to, well, who am I? What am I? And I asked him, and he didn't really speak much English, but I was able to convey to him where I wanted to go. And he was able to give me some directions. And then a few hundred meters from there, I met a woodcutter who confirmed my direction. And there's no question in my mind that those were guardian angels sent by my Narmada to get me back on track. There were many times that people asked me that question, don't you ever get lonely on the Narmada? I was always alone, but never lonely, because it is a journey of self-reflection. It's an inner journey and a journey of surrender. And it was every single day was diverse. There was so many different experiences. I mean, no one day was ever similar to the previous day. Amazing. And the people that are in the villages around the Narmada are so incredibly helpful. It's just remarkable. All you do is you just stand and shout, Narmade Har.
And then people come to you.
And someone will bound to come out of a house or something and You just Narmada, and then you don't even have to speak the language. I always say that, it's the language of the heart, big smile, humility, and just, there are a few things you need to know is, pani, drinking. Is it, can I drink this pani? Or bojan, you have some food, or sleeping. Can I sleep here? So a few things to ask, and for the rest, you just you're in you're being taken care of by the angels that live around Mount Narmada.
People are very sweet in India, especially, right? Like everyone is so helpful. Everyone like really sharing everything.
That's
And
absolutely,
very comfortable to travel.
yeah, it's amazing. So it was so transformational that I feel that there were still some things that I wanted to deepen. I want to deepen that experience, and so yeah, I feel as though I have this romance with my Narmada.
So before Narmada and after Narmada, how did you change?
I think I became a lot more tolerant, a lot more patient. I became a lot more accepting of just whatever comes my way. Not that any of those things were ever really major issues, but you still, when you're in the material Western world, perhaps you still fighting your way a little bit. You're still wanting to control things. I just let all of that go. Much more accepting of whatever comes in that moment is meant to happen. And also just, I became very, very comfortable just to be with me, just to sit quietly. As the Upanishads say, you must be able to sit with yourself. And I was able to do that, and am able to do that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's a very inspiring journey. What would you advise to people who wants to also do the same?
Ma Narmada will call you. I really do believe that. They've been, of the people who start the Narmada, and that's coming up shortly, because you're not meant to be walking during the Chaturmas months. So Chaturmas ends this year on the 2nd of November. So there will be many people starting the Narmada on the 3rd of November. But of those who start, there might be, in various places along the banks of the Narmada, there may be 3,000 or 4,000 people who start, but there are only going to be about 20 or 30% of those that are going to actually finish that journey.
Okay, maybe someone is now hearing this call while listening to your inspiring talks. Thank you so much, Ronnie. And it was a surprise for me. I thought you're maybe much younger, but you are 70 already. It's like your journey, your life journey is long. And we have so many things to learn from you. Now, nowadays people are very stressed about so many things, cannot find happiness. Many people are feeling anxious, like problems with family, divorce, going through depression. What would you advise to all of these people?
You often see people putting things on social media, elderly people who say, if they had their lives over again, what would they do differently?
Right.
They would sing more, laugh more often, dance more.
Go to India.
Yeah, go to India early in their lives. I, I think that I would be, if I had to think back of my own life, what would I maybe do differently? I would probably be less driven. I was very, very driven in my life, very goal orientated. And I think it's important and good to have goals, but I think sometimes they can create a huge amount of stress. I think the world is stressful enough as it is, just in terms of what's happening. But I think that there are things that are happening on a much deeper level. We have a change happening just in terms of the age that we're living in. So that brings with it a huge amount of stress. I would slow down. I would definitely slow down. I would spend more quiet time. I would try and find time for myself more. Just be less driven. I mean, it's very important to be driven to some extent because you need to be getting up in the morning and you need to get out and generate some income. And there are things that you naturally need to be doing. That desire for possession, what more and more and more, and at what point is enough enough? The one thing I have learned here in India is that so many people get by with so little. And so often people in the West and in other parts of the world, one car is not good enough. We need another car. And then when we have a second car, it's now we need a bigger car, or it needs to be the latest model or a bigger house. And it's just more and more and more and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's the complete opposite. It's actually letting go. It's the unlearning process. It's the letting go that ultimately will bring more freedom, more happiness. But that is, I think, also something that we all need to actually find for ourselves. It's for all very well hearing it from someone, but you actually need to go through the self-abuse, the addictions, the stress, the trauma, all of that, that sometimes is part of one's journey that you actually need to actually experience and to eventually be able to step back and to say,
Yeah.
okay,
and enjoying life more.
just having more fun,
Yeah.
having more fun. And not that I didn't have fun. I had lots of fun in my life, but often it wasn't true, genuine fun that where you really, and I think now I'm having wonderful fun with all of the difficulties. I'm having fun.
Wow, that's great. And the last question, let me ask you, what do you think is the purpose of life? Why are we here? To have fun, maybe?
Yeah,
Really?
no, look, I think
Sorry.
to have fun and to find happiness is certainly a purpose. But I really do believe that, if one follows what is in the Vedic texts and the teachings of Vedanta, is that ultimately it's for us to realize our true nature, is who are we truly, that uh, we aren't necessarily this body, this mind, these emotions. There's an essence of who we truly are. And I think that the purpose of life is to realize that, to realize our true selves. And that would be ultimately emerging with the divine and finding our relationship in a very intimate way with the divine. With his grace, or with the grace of the Supreme, I hope that I am able to realize that, draw back that curtain of illusion, because we are surrounded by so much illusion of so many things that are not real, and as to find the real, to really find the real and what is true, the truth of who we are. So that is what I believe is ultimately what we need to strive to do. If we're going to be striving for anything, I think that should be a striving. And forget about the new car.
Okay, thank you so much, Ronnie Baba. I really like your sweet name. This name that you received during Narmada journey. And so many people around also call you Baba and Babaji. I love it especially. So thank you, Ronnie Baba, for your amazing story there. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.